Great. Thank you everyone for joining. So I think one of the things is I'm just standing in for Ambrose and Nikki who couldn't join us today. But basically, this session or sessions were really put together to try and address and promote cross-learning to improve our data quality. And to do that, we're not saying that the data coordinating center knows everything. That's why the whole idea is to really make this workshop to be a place where we can cross-learn from each other. There are some countries or one particular country which has got absolutely amazing data quality scores. They have very few missing data, very thorough in their data, and obviously there are some sites which are struggling. So we're hoping to have this platform to really, brainstorm and try and address some of the data quality issues that might hold back effective use of the data that we are collecting. At the same time, we are also trying to make sure that everyone is fully aware of the standard operating procedures that we've developed together as a consortium so that we can make these um, used more widely, because it's one thing creating standard operating procedures, it's another thing effectively using those standard operating procedures to guide us in ensuring that the data quality is really high. We'll also try and touch base on the dashboard as much as possible. Wilson has really been working hard to make the dashboard um, very informative to the funders and even to us as a consortium. But obviously, there are some challenges in making sure this dashboard is up to date and is very current. So we're hoping as well in these sessions, we'll be able to come up with solutions of how to make our dashboard be more effective in displaying the progress that we are making. The sickle cell disease ontology obviously is the foundation of most of the work we're doing, and we want to feed back to that as well. Another key issue is the data transfer. How can we make our data transfer more efficient, and also to iron out any areas that might need strengthening? The ethical, legal, social implications for the registry is something that we continually endeavor to make sure that we align to. So we really hope that we can work together as a consortium to make sure that the second phase of the analysis, we've just finished the first phase, submitted the publication. We now would like to, at the end of this, a key deliverable for us is that we have a plan of action of how to conduct the phase 2 analysis of the registry, which includes all the countries in Sequin Africa, and hopefully get a stronger publication out of that with better quality data. I think that's about it from me. And thank you everyone for joining. We hope that we can learn a lot from the sites and also facilitate a lot of cross-learning. And thank you to all the people who are participating, who've been preparing slides and working hard towards making this happen. Obviously, Martha, who's been coordinating, putting this together. So I'll hand over to the chair of the meeting, Professor Rafael Sangeda, who's really been right there from the beginning of all this registry, working closely with Dr. Gaston, the late Dr. Gaston Majandu. Over to you, Professor Rafael. I'm not sure he's in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicky. I'm in, and I've been eagerly waiting for this workshop. Hello, everyone from wherever you are. Good morning, good afternoon from the part of Africa and world where you are. So I think Vic has introduced it very well. Just want to thank the PIs and the organizing team for making this possible. Cross-learning, as Vic has put it, I think it's the best way to go. And it was made very clear that some of us may be ahead of others. Some of us will know one feature better than others. And when we come to this kind of meetings is where we cross-fertilize our ideas. So this is a 3 days workshop has been introduced, and in today's session, which I'm chairing, we're going to look at lead cap and efficient way of data capturing. This is the way to improve your data quality to start with. So I'm not sure we will be introducing everyone, but I think as we discuss, we'll probably be introducing each other when we speak. So the next speaker is going to be Mario. So Mario has been one of the very key people in SADC and in SICO in Africa, trying to help us setting systems. And he's been very instrumental to help us with the data elements and helping also with the issues of data quality. He has really been helpful with his team there. And today he will take us through setting up RedCap. So we will give him half an hour. Mario, I hope you are online.
Thank you, Raphael. It's a bit earlier than anticipated. I'm just swallowing my part of my sandwich. So good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you all. So I just want to have good to hear your voice, Raphael. Just a quick question. I'm looking at the people online. I just want to have two questions. So who of you are technical? Who would be tasked with installing RedCap, for example? Because that will help me tailor my presentation. I do have content on there, but I just don't want to bore people if you're not going to be technically involved. So I'm going to just quickly, people I do not necessarily recognize. So Francis Opoko, Iebosta Haruna, I don't recognize Umar Aliyu. I'm not sure. So, okay, nobody is going to be involved in technical installation. Second question is, are any of you not familiar with RedCap? Could I see by a show of hands, please? Okay, then I have nothing to say. Let me just quickly then go to let me just go to my slideshow. I do apologize for the transitions for the slideshow. It's part of the template. Can you see my slide that says overview?
Yes, Mario, I can see it.
Thanks.
My
Thanks,
part.
Rafael. Thank you. Yeah, so just obtaining, this is going to be covering how to get RedCap, how to install it, and how to mitigate if you do not have RedCap. And I think, given my survey just now with all of you, I think the more important part would be how to obtain RedCap. I'm not going to dwell a lot about the installation or the mitigation. The mitigation is just if you do not have RedCap, how do you proceed until you get it? So then I'll basically think I'll just focus on the first part of that, which means it's going to be a very short presentation. So to obtain RedCap, most of you know it's free, but you do need a license, and that license needs to be engaged with and signed by a legal department of your institution. And then installation of RedCap is relatively simple. A couple of command line commands, and it's basically installed. It needs post configuration after that, but the installation process is very, very simple. For mitigation, what do you do while you wait for RedCap? And I think a lot of you have had experience with Excel sheets and tables, etc. But just quickly maybe pointing out that there needs to be an agreement on which data elements will be captured and the units that's going to be used. And we have developed over the last almost decade, as Rafael and Vicky pointed out, a set of data elements that we will label core elements. They're more than that, but they are core elements that need to be considered. So you agree on the data elements that you're capturing in your Excel sheets, guided by the SQL and Africa data elements. And then of course, be consistent in how you capture information. So so just mentioning again that there needs to be a valid user license between your university or your institute and Vanderbilt, who are the developers of this piece of software. And then, as I pointed out, the legal department needs to sign off on this because it's a legal, binding document between your institution and and Vanderbilt, who develops the RedCap piece of software. It does mean that if you apply for your university, for example, if there's an agreement with the university, then there may be an avenue for several groups in your institute to use RedCap. But yeah, the legal department would be able to guide on that. So there is a community, as the administrators of RedCap may be familiar with Rafael and some of the other technical people online. This gives you more information, more engagement with the software. For example, with Zimbabwe, one of the things they're trying to incorporate in their I think it's for the pain, the prophylaxis. Sorry, I'm fuzzy about the project that they would be leaving. That's led by Prof. Parker. One of the things is to capture pain and make sure that they capture the location of the pain very adequately. So this would be a place where there are features, there are anatomical maps that you can incorporate into RedCap that will allow users to exactly pinpoint where the pain is so that you can have an accurate description of where the pain is located. But there are more engagement. This community website and interface allows you to engage with the developers of the RedCap community more. So here, for example, people are saying, one person would say, for a repeating instance of their RedCap, the alert is no longer being sent. So this is where you flag issues that you have with RedCap. The take home from this is that point where you are able to engage with the developers and get more feedback and more input and get response to your in-depth queries. And the second take home is where to download RedCap, because that's the focus of this slideshow. There are two different versions of RedCap. The one on the right, although it says LTS for long-term, so my understanding of long-term version would be there's more, you'll have longer support for a piece of software. But in this case, for RedCap, it means this version of RedCap is for a specific purpose. With just basic patches. The one that you would want is the one on the left that says standard release. Once you download that, then you can proceed to the next phase, next step. Yeah, so that's just it. So just take home from this would be how to get access to it. And I'm going to go through this very quickly. So you would be, you unload you download your file on the command line on your server, your Ubuntu server, and this is very, for technically savvy people. You unzip it, and then it gets unpacked. And one of the more important files to look at from a technical point of view is the installation instructions. Very minimal, but it guides you in what needs to be done. Because the installation process for RedCap is very, very, very simple. Once that's done, so this is the top part of that, instructions for installing RedCap. No need for you to read it because, like I said, it's not necessarily relevant for a lot of you. So once you unpack that file and you go to the browser and you go to the directory where you've just unzipped that file, and you go to this install file, it's basically a straightforward process of clicking, going to the next one. The only thing to note or point out here is that you do need a MySQL database at the back of your RedCap installation. That's how RedCap knows how to make sure that there's proper relationships between the data elements, the records, how it keeps track of modifications, changes, comments, etc. So behind RedCap and that nice interface is a MySQL, a hardworking MySQL database that's at the core of some of the functionality you would see in RedCap. So this very first page gives you the instructions on how to create how to create that database. It tells you how to create that database if it doesn't exist, and then it creates a user for access, and then what kind of permissions the user needs. So once that process starts, like I said, it's a point and click in your web browser. It does a set of configuration checks. So what you, for all intents and purposes, even if you're not technical, you would be able to start this process. And it's, a tech savvy person can install and unpack the software for you on a server and tell you, please go and run this install script. And you as a non-technical person would be able to run this script to completion, provided that these prerequisites are there. If it's green, it means RedCap finds the little module, the piece of software that it needs. If it's red, it needs to be installed. Generally, if your IT person has done their due diligence, there should be few red blocks. So green means you're okay. Red means it still needs to be done. These orange or yellowish blocks just indicate that, yes, it's just a warning or just a comment. It would be nice if you have this piece of software, but it's not crucial for installing RedCap. Once again, red, green, and yellow indicate the relevant priorities, as I indicated. This last one is just there are certain things that RedCap does regularly. So a cron job is just a fancy way, a weird way of saying a regular job. Do this regularly, do this every hour or every day. I want you to run a summary of all of the records for all of the databases, or every hour do this process. So this is just that. And once again, even as a non-technical person, you would be able to do this relatively easily, just point and click. And yeah, I suppose this is the last slide for me. So and this is what you can point out to people that you may be engaged with who do not have RedCap yet, is maybe just to make sure that they standardize on whichever way they're capturing the information, whether it be Excel sheets, whether it be hard copy, that they create a CRF or an Excel sheet that uses as a guideline the SQL in Africa core elements, data elements, or all of the data elements that are there, and then make sure that their data elements or the data that they're capturing aligns with the core data elements. Even the naming, it would be good if the naming would be good. And then also, make sure that the units for capturing information would be consistent. Blood pressure is captured in the same way. Light is captured in the same unit. And then what is important, what may take a bit of thinking from sites or for sites that do not have RedCap installed and do capture stuff on Excel sheet, for example, is to think about coding. So that they find a way of incorporating in the Excel sheet a code for what is male, what is female. Those of you who use RedCap and those of you of a programming background, 1 would be male, 0 would be female. On the scale from 1 to 10, sorry, like I said, I'm a bit fuzzy. If something is true, is this patient a child? Yes or no? Is it a woman? Sorry, is it an old person? Is it a person on hydroxyurea? Yes or no? Yes is always 1. No is always 0. So in the absence of RedCap, sites and members and people who would want to join and use RedCap and capture information, they need to start thinking about how in the Excel sheets they have a specific code for these various options. So once they have RedCap installed, then it becomes a simple case of taking that Excel sheet with the appropriate names, with the appropriate coding, and it becomes a relatively trivial exercise of just importing that Excel sheet. So then the transition from no RedCap to RedCap for standardization becomes very trivial and very, very easy. I think that is it from me. If there are any questions and any items, Vicky, you think I may have left out or need to cover, please do so. And Rafael, if not, then over to you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Mario, for this clear and concise explanation on how to set up REDCap on in your institution. I think it was very clear. There are a couple of issues that we were also expecting, but maybe we can do that through a discussion. It was clear indicated that it would show us on how to access the training platform and have a bit of discussion. Now, since we have some minutes, I'll just open to the audience to ask any question. But thank you, Mario.
Thanks for that, Rafael. I did. Sorry, yes, you're absolutely right. So, given the fact that a lot of people have been exposed to REDCap, I thought it would be more practical if let me just get that link. If there are people who are not does not have an instance of REDCap, that we find out who they are and then create training accounts for those members, so that I don't spend and waste time with people who are familiar with REDCap. So I'm pasting in there the link for what that captures, and that survey captures is if you need an account for REDCap just to test. If you don't have an instance of REDCap on your server or anywhere that you can access, please advise us, and then we will either set up a training account or a test account for you on the version that we currently using at CBio, or we will install a standalone version of REDCap just for this purpose. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Rafael. I actually forgot to mention that. Thanks very much.
Thank you. So if you have one or two questions, is it okay, Mario?
Yes, please.
So members, welcome. If you have any burning question, Mario will address it right away. Just introduce yourself or raise up your hand and just ask the question. It's a little bit quiet.
While people get the courage to talk, Rafael. So I do know. So I'm offering. So we're offering our services for the following: is just to make sure that I know, for example, if I'm allowed, Prof. Dr. Dr. Saro. In Mali, for example, they have a REDCap instance, but it is behind a firewall, so you cannot access it remotely. You need to go in physically to access REDCap. So we are able and willing to assist you with, for example, helping you install REDCap at your site. But like I said, the process is very simple. But in the event where you would need assistance with that, I'm more than willing to help. So the issue with the firewall is also a simple process to overcome and to circumvent. And even so, basically, whatever technical issues you may have with REDCap that you cannot resolve with your IT team, I'm more than willing to assist with that. Doesn't matter whether the site is new or old, or even if it's not a Sparko site, or a Signal in Africa site, we're willing to explore and assist where that is needed. Thanks, Rafael.
Thanks, Mario. While they're also thinking, I've come across someone say, "Oh, can you please? Can I have the REDCap on my laptop?"
Yeah, look, so technically, we can do that. I mean, I can give everybody in this room a version of REDCap, but legally not. Because there's an agreement that we adhere to, a strict legal requirement. These guys will not hold us accountable, but they have legal recourse if they need to. they can have legal recourse. And I do not know what the penalties for that will be, but I would rather not find out what it will be for me as an individual and for the consortium as a whole. So if you want a copy of REDCap, start talking to your tech department. Start talking to your PI, and then you can start reaching out to your legal department to just complete that legal document. It's a very simple document. There's no, I mean, and it's also a very swift process. It's just that Vanderbilt wants an agreement between their university and whichever institution you are part of. So yeah, I think it may be best for us in the long run to go through that route. Although it may sound long, I think it will just it's more sustainable in the long run. Thanks, Rafael.
Thank you, Mario, for clarifying. So I think people now understand that putting it on a laptop would infringe the agreement, the institutional agreement that Vanderbilt want to have with the institutions. So yeah, that's clear. So
maybe just a quick question. I'm Bruno Mbando.
welcome, Dr. Bruno.
Are there any costs or fees that are associated with the subscription with the REDCap, or it's just information and then you just get it for free?
Yeah, there's no subscription fee. It's free. It's completely free. All that needs to be in place is the license agreement. I do not have a copy of it here, but once that is signed, once that's agreed to, then you are free to use REDCap. I do not know, Rafael, you may be able to better answer that question. I do not know whether, I think you can have as many instances of REDCap as is needed, but generally REDCap is installed on a server. And then that server ideally is accessible to multiple people to use. So there's no cost, Bruno. It's also a perpetual license in essence. You don't necessarily need to renew it. It's just that initial agreement with Vanderbilt, and then you use the software, or the institution or the members of this institution use the software as they see fit for as long as they need. I hope that answers your question, Dr. Mbando.
Yes, thank you.
I can quickly share one of the old licenses. Here is one example. This is the license that was shared, I think, in 2011 for MUHAS. And it's just that simple. I'm sure it has been improvised by now. It's rather simple. You just have to sign and return to the REDCap team at Vanderbilt University. So once you return it, then they will allow you to have an account and download it. And you'll be listed on the project, or on their project on the website, and you'll be one of the institutions featuring there. So OneNote will be added to the map there. Yeah. So, but with regard to cost, yeah, there's no cost. You don't pay, you pay nothing. You just have to manage your server at your own cost. And you have to do it anyway. You have to manage your server and internet, etc. Yeah. If there's no any other question, do you allow us to move on and thank Mario for that nice introduction. So thank you very much, Mario. Hello.
It's a pleasure always, Rafael.
Thank you. So the next presentation, I think Dr. Athamon Gweneza will take us through the ability to set up REDCap efficiently for data quality assurances. So he'll take us through what are the features in REDCap that make this efficient, And we'll show us some cool features regarding exporting data back and forth between RedCap and other tools. Dr. Athmon, welcome to present your presentation, please.
All right, thank you very much, Raphael. Yes, so for this session, we are going to be, okay, let me share my screen.
Can you share the slides, please?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not going to be using slides for this part of the session. I'm going to be taking you through RedCap, through login, and then what you do depending on what task you are working on. So here is the outline I'm going to be following. Please tell me if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see
Yes.
some outline.
Yes, so so this is the outline I'm going to try to follow so that I can be guided, so that I don't go over time. So it's very hard to compile everything about RedCap within a 1 hour session. So I'll try to be as brief as possible, and then where we can, where we need more discussion, it will be noted. Then in the future, we can develop SOPs that explains much more in detail whatever features that needs more clarification. So Mario has already taken you through the introduction and basically what is required to set up and to have an access to RedCap. And so I'm going to be skipping 1 and 2. I'm going to move on to just basically setting up projects. So here is my RedCap, and this is how I log in. Yeah, so basically once you are in the RedCap, this is the screen that you are welcomed with. And the one thing about the RedCap is that it is very much all the information is well documented, and everything is like explained. So even if you are not familiar with some of the features, you are able to click and get more information regarding a specific feature for RedCap. So so RedCap, once you are logged in or RedCap, you will see these different tabs on top. So home basically telling you what RedCap is. Then you will see a tab for my projects. Usually this is where projects are saved, and as you can see, this is the number of some of the projects that I'm currently have access to. And so usually they can also be organized in folders so that you can be able to navigate and keep track on what projects that you are currently working on. Then, okay, so still under the, sorry, under the projects, you are able to get specific information regarding each project. So here you are able to see the number of fields, the number of records that have been entered for each project. So where it says records, the field's name, so that's the number of how many elements have been have information. And then we have instruments. So RedCap instruments are basically your forms. And then it can give you the status of the project, and the status of the project basically it tells you whether the project is still in development mode or it's in production mode. And once it's production mode, usually that means that the project has started and everyone is working on that project. And then you have a window for frequently asked questions, And basically, these are the questions that you might have, and you might need answers to, and you can navigate through this question and hopefully find the relevant answer that you're looking for. In addition, REDCap, for many specific tasks, there is usually a short videos for each specific task, and if you are able to watch it, and they are able to help you or guide you through accomplishing a certain task within REDCap. And then again, there is a place you can email files to different users or the people you're working with. And then there is a tab where you can leave notes or a notification to the people who are currently working on that specific project. So, so once they log in, they're able to get that that notification. Okay. So again, so coming back to my the part where we do REDCap project setup. So if you need to start a new project from scratch, you can click on the new project, where it will ask you the title, to provide information regarding the title, the purpose of this project, and then you can save and then start working on it, start adding instruments. So, however, if you don't want to start from scratch, you can also use, for instance, you can use REDCap instrument library. So there's a set of instruments that have been developed, and they have been approved by REDCap to be able to help people who are trying to create instruments. So you can be able to go to that library. You're able to go to the library and find a list of different instruments that have been developed over time, and then so these are instruments that have been created with the REDCap oversight committee, and you can enter the keyword search and be able to retrieve any instrument that you might be interested in. There's also a specific search option. You can restrict it to language, to a type, to whether it's recently been updated, and all that information. So basically, how you get this one, you go to project setup and then select REDCap instrument. Once you identify library, once you identify a specific instrument that you're interested in, you can then download it and then upload it to the REDCap project that you've created. So basically, you download it as a zip file, and within that project that you created for REDCap. So, for example, this project here that you're seeing here is the MCP project, malaria chemoprophylaxis project, and these are the instruments we currently have. So, if I needed another type of instrument that I've downloaded from maybe the library, the REDCap instrument library, I can click here and then choose the file, then upload that zip instrument, then it will appear here. Once it appears here, I can drag it, move it around, rename it. So basically renaming instrument, you come here, you can either rename, choose a name, or you can decide to delete an instrument. You can you can move it around, you can copy, you can create duplicate instruments, etc. So basically, that is that's the quickest way to get all your data instrument for a project. So then another way you can besides downloading, you can also use the current instrument that you have, and you download it. So here I've just downloaded the form, and if I needed I add this file that I just created, I look through my my folder, my computer, and then I can upload it. So here it just says the instrument has been added. As you can see, it's just been added at the bottom here. So I can move it around, or I can just, but in this case, I'm just going to delete it. So basically, this is one way. And then another way is to use a data dictionary. So if someone is working on, if someone has already worked on a REDCap and they have a dictionary, they can also give you a data dictionary which you can upload, and that will give you access to the variables in their projects. So the data dictionary in REDCap is found under project setup. So if you want, so you can then download a data dictionary. So a data dictionary is usually saved as a CSV. So for this project, I can download the data instrument and then share it with the sites, and then they will be able to also upload it through project setup and then be able to see what I see on my side. So basically, uploading a data dictionary, again, you go under the data dictionary tab, you choose a file, yes, you choose a file, and then you upload this data dictionary. Once you uploaded this data dictionary, then you will be able to see an entire project with new data instruments, with sets of questions that without you having to restart the project from scratch. And then another way to save time. So basically, that's how to use an instrument that is being that someone else is using. If you want to share it, another way to share the data dictionary, it will be to share XML file, the metadata only. So you can, and this is what I usually share with the sites if I need to create a project. I usually come here through the and next to the functionality, I go to download metadata, and then I get a file. And this XML file, that's what I share with the site. I can share it as a metadata only, or I can share this metadata plus the data. And once they upload it to their project, then everything they are seeing is what is the same information I have on my side. Even if we're not on the same servers, we can still be able to have data dictionary that are labeled the same, field names that are similar, and this way it can help us to be able to combine, to merge different data sets that come from different sites. So that's pretty much how you would want to start a project, but without starting from scratch. Starting from scratch. So then then I'm going to go to the next, my next point would be then once your project is set up, then what you would want to do is to start capturing your information. And I know there are two ways the data gets on our RedCap or on our database. Some people have information that they have collected previously that could be in different files or different Excel spreadsheets that needs to be entered on RedCap. Other people might have information that are either on CRF that needs to be captured on RedCap. Other people might just be entering this information directly from a patient. They might be capturing directly this information either through a tablet, and then that way, that's how the data gets on the RedCap. So basically, to capture information, to enter new records, it's simple. You just click under a specific project. You need to make sure that you're working on a specific project so that the project name will be on top. And then, so in this case, it's MCP, and then there will be under the data collection section, there will be add or edit a record. So with this, you can either create a new record, and so, or you can select the existing records. Since this is a new project, and since I've not been we are not entering data on this project, let's just say add a new record. So in this situation, a form pops up. So 6 forms appears, and you can choose which form to enter this information on. So this is on screening form. Then you can just go ahead and start capturing this information and entering the key information. And once you're done, you save and exit, or you save and move on to the next form. So so basically, that's where how you would enter information is just straightforward. And then if there is existing records and you know the study ID number, you just search the field name. You just search you put in the ID, and then that record appears. So that is one way to enter that information, especially if that information has it's fresh, it's new. But however, some records, it's not always the case that you're going to enter this information straight from the CRF or straight from the patient. You sometimes this information also have been collected previously, and you want to be able to get this information on the RedCap. So what you need to do is you need to, first of all, so under application, you need to make sure that you have the rights to be able to see all these applications, because depending on a specific rights your project manager or your data manager has given you to access, that's what you see under applications. So some may not give you the rights. You might not have the right to import data, for instance, or export, or you just might have rights to just view. So it's very important to actually understand what rights for each specific project that you have, because not everyone is supposed to have the same rights on each project. So, so if you need now to get the data that you've entered from the spreadsheet to REDCap, you have to make sure that you have the data import tool. And then once you're on the data import tool, then through this instruction, there is a link that takes you to download your data import template. So this is the template you find that you need to make sure that the data you're about to import matches all the columns in this and matches the information that is supposed to be in this column. So, but once you have that, then you can be able to import this data without a problem. But you need to make sure that all the fields and the column names are aligned. So for this project, this is our data import tool template. So this is the data template, and so you need to make sure that all the columns of the data that you are entering is able to match everything that is in this column. So the record ID, the instrument, all that information needs to be captured before you can upload your data to the REDCap. So, and again, all the information is written here for the instruction on how to import. You can again read the column to just understand what you need to get the data to be uploaded. And again, there is a code book. So a code book is basically specifies what each code means. If it's a 1, is a yes, 0, no, and different drop down have also different codes. So you need to be able to match all those codes so that you can you don't have to create inconsistency in your data. So using a data dictionary and using a download template, you must first, that's where you need to make sure that everything is captured accurately, because otherwise you might have you might be creating more of messier data than if you had not uploaded this data. So this is an important tool that should take that requires much of your attention if you're going to be uploading data. And again, there's support that is available within the team. We can always support with regarding importing and uploading all the data to the REDCap database. So now that you've moved on to the getting the data to the REDCap, I just want to take you to the REDCap online designer. So this is where I should have started, but So basically, there is a RedCap Online Designer. When you are creating a project from scratch, you start out without a form, without an instrument without any instrument, and you basically create all the questions from scratch. So here I'm just going to use a form that is already created, but initially, if you don't have a form, you just add an instrument, and then it's just going to take you to it's going to bring you to a form where you just start entering your questions. So, for example, on our screening form for MCP CRIF, this is where we start. And so obviously you need to have record ID. So record ID comes first because this is what links to all other instruments. And usually, if you want to, you can add some features to this. So you can make sure that you note, is it this identifier, yes or no? And you capture the field label. This is just a description of what the field name is. And then there is also a variable name which is basically like what you use, what we see when you're analyzing data. This is the name we see that describes this field. And also there's validations that you can add to each field when you're creating a field in RedCap. So in addition to in addition to the record ID, you might want to add another field. So if you want to add an additional field, you can say add. So RedCap gives you field types, a list of field types. It gives you a text box, and this text box can be used as a way to enter questions that are text, that are numbers, that are date and time. So once you select this one, you can either say, let's say you want to enter the country of this person. And then with this, the variable name is just going to be the country. The validation, we just want to see the country. And yeah, then this is enough. But then if I click yes, you can see there's a field that is created called country. And if this is not enough, let's just say, actually, instead of wanting to do a country, I wanted to do date of birth. I can say date of birth. So because date of birth, it's a date, I don't want people to be entering information the way they want. I would want that to have some kind of validation to make sure that data that is entered there meets a certain format. So here, I would like navigate here under the validation and try to see what's the best way to capture this date of birth. And what we commonly use is day, month, year. So I would choose this, date, month, year, and then save. So this way, we have date of birth, and we can be sure that the way it's going to be captured, if it's captured properly on this form, it's always going to be day, month, year. And this is the rule it's going to follow going forward. What else can we do with this field? Yeah, basically, you can also add minimum, or you can add some restrictions, say minimum, maximum. You can say date of birth maybe does not have to go above this date or beyond this date. So especially if you are interested maybe in if you're looking at kids under a certain age, or within an age bracket, you can just put the minimum and the maximum of where, so that people actually don't enter information that's not supposed to be captured here. So those are sometimes some types of validation. Yeah, so basically that's how you create the field, that's how you add the validation. There's different types of fields. There is where you add notes. So this is a field where maybe you need to add a comment. If someone requires more explanation, like requires explaining something, then you can, this will be more appropriate field type that to use. And then there is more of like a calculated field. So a calculated field, usually you don't see this in on the you don't see this on the data dictionary, but you will see it when you export data, and this is usually also best because this basically takes the date of birth, and then let's say you're looking at the age, and then it subtracts from maybe the day a patient came to the hospital. So you can determine how old was the patient when they came to the clinic without having to always be going back and doing this manually or entering this manually. This calculated field can be there. And then, so the multiple choice. There can be multiple choice where you enter yes, no, maybe. These are the kind of so I created a drop down here. So like a checkbox, for instance. So you can have that field type where, especially if you need to tick multiple boxes, you can do that. There's also multiple boxes where you just tick a single, where you just select a single answer. That can also, that works best. But when you require to select more than 3 different options, then using checkboxes is usually the best. And then you have also those default yes or no or true and false, those fields that say that already give you the option, the yes or no. And then you have those that they give you the option to say true or false. And then you have field types that it gives you a signature. This is where you can have a field where actually person signs, where a person also can upload a file. You can also create a space where a person can upload a file. And there's also a place where you can add titles, where you say begin new section, and then you just, let's say demographics, clinical information, laboratory results. You can have all these titles within your CRIF, and that I think makes your form look much better. But also, basically, this is the kind of questions these are the kind of field option you have within the red cap, and usually they cover much of the questions that we have on our CRIF that we answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete. So there's a button here. If you're not happy with the field, you can delete it. So I'm just, because this was a practice, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. And then, as you see here, there is also another sign. You can move fields around, move them if they are not in the same order. If they're not in particular order, you can move them around. You can copy field name from one instrument to the other. I will come back to this green button in the next point, where I will do more advanced features. So basically, let me just take you through this form quickly. So here I use the text field where we asked for Sparkle site number because that could be anything. So we allowed anyone to enter that information, name of a facility. Usually when you have a list of facility where you're going to be conducting a study, you would want to have a drop down where this information does not have to be entered manually, because free text usually causes a lot of problems, especially when you're doing analysis, because it requires you to actually go and fix them manually after they have been captured, because some people, the way they write, it's not always consistent between individual of how people write. And then staff member performing the screening. If again you know the names, it's best to select those names and use them as in a drop down. And then you can also participant here is participant eligible? Yes. So it's a yes or no. You can also add a note, just basically to caution people to say, you know what, if this person has also this additional condition, they cannot be eligible. So this is just a note that I've added here. So this is a yes or no. So we use the yes or no field type. And then there is a lot of yes or no's questions. I've shown you how they're created. Negative and positive, usually it's you use a yes or no type of field, like a checkbox where you just add this as option. Site participant number is a free text. Has the patient consented, yes or no? Like that type of consent, you can tick as many as you want here. And yes, so basically this is how you add all these fields together based on the different types. And the best thing to do is to improve the data quality is to add validation that might get in the way of data not being clean, because it's better to fix them earlier than fixing them later. So if you because some information may not be captured if they are captured incorrectly. So that's one way to kind of make sure that even if people are, when people are capturing, they are actually adhering to the validations rules that you're putting in place. So yeah, so in addition to that, in addition to basically online designing on what you can do in terms of validation, it's what I talked about was the branching logic. So basically, branching logic is usually follows a set of rules. So sets follows a certain instruction. For example, some of the questions, let's say, might be requiring you to specify. So for example, for question that you ask for other. So once you select other, then you would also want this person to specify what does other mean. So for those kind of questions, usually you can open them up or hide them up using the branching logic. So the branching logic has two sections. So if you are comfortable with syntax, you can use the top section, but then otherwise you can just drop and drag using this bottom section. So basically, this question need to follow certain like branching order. So for example, let's say participant, if participant is eligible, yes. Okay. So for example, this question that asks 6 months consent to participate, I can decide that I don't want this question to be shown if the person clicks, if the person is not eligible. So on what I can do is, if participant is not eligible, okay, let's just say, okay. So this means that the next fields are going to only show if the person consents to participate in the study. So once the person selects, so I've added a branching logic. No, sorry. Yes. So, for example, this question will only, where I just added the rule, this question will only be seen if the person is going to be eligible. So, so this is how you can also, again, minimize for people capturing information. So one of the problem that when people are capturing data, you might find that certain information are captured where they're not, certain information are captured where they're not supposed to capture. Let's say, for example, questions that are related to a guy, like a male. Then you later on, you might find that if you don't add branching logic, you might find that once you look at the raw data, you might find that there are some information, like pregnancy information, that have been asked regarding this specific individual. So that can be minimized. Those issues can be minimized by just adding branching logic. And again, people are not always fond of branching logic. So if there's no way to if there's no other way to avoid those kind of issues, branching logic usually would be uh, um, the solution in that scenario, in that instance. Yeah. So that's without going so much into detail, like that's it for the online design features. I just want to move on to the information regarding exports and reports. So for the projects, you might have, for certain projects, you might have, you might want to do reports in terms of stats. Also, you want to know how many participants, how many people have you enrolled, and all that information. So usually, again, under application, you need to make sure that you have data exports, reports, and stats. So under data exports and reports and stats, once you have this information, you can be able to go to the reports and also get the stats, especially if you want to look at your data in real time. So one way to do this, let's just start with the report. So one way to do this, you can create a report, and this report, you can either decide to look at certain sections of your research project. For example, you can only decide to look at instruments. So for example, here I have all kinds of instruments that we're currently using. And you can, if you had to look at all this data, it might be too much to just like look at as a report. But you might decide to maybe you want to look at specific fields or only specific instrument. Then here you can choose the specific instrument, and then once it's selected, then you create a report. And then you can also decide what field name that you want only to include in the report, then that you don't have to see everything that you don't necessarily need to see. So that is one way to create a report. And then you might want to also view your data. You might want to look at your data and also export it. So one way to do this, let's say you want to export it for analysis, you just select export, then you can also choose to export data. So RedCap has different formats that you can export your data in. There is CSV, and then it can also be exported using other statistical softwares like SPSS, SAS, R, Stata. So, but ideally, you want to be able to have like a raw data, like Excel spreadsheet that you can share with multiple people, because not everyone always uses the same software. So, but CSV, especially the ones on top, where you share raw data, this is ideal because this just contains the code and then also as well as the field name. However, the second CSV here contains labels. So when you have Excel, it might have, instead of having field names, it might have more description names that are too long and that are very also just extra. And then you also might have the labels for each code. So you don't want that. You ideally want to export your data set as a raw. And then this can be accompanied by, if you're going to share it, it can be accompanied by a code book or data dictionary to kind of just for someone who's not familiar with your data to be able to understand what it does. But I think that's the best way to share this information. So that's one way to share it. Also, RedCap has also stats. You can also create like you can have nice plots, pie chart, bar charts. You can be able to also exit, and all this can be found under data export reports and stats. And under each application there is a small video on how to use all these different tabs. And then another things that is used in order to improve the quality of your data is the data quality module that is built in. And again, this data quality it can be found under the applications, where you once you look at this, you should be able to have a data quality module under your applications. And this, you have built-in built-in data quality modules. Like there is one that looks at blank values. There's one that looks at blank values for only specifically for the required fields. So, and then there's also the one that checks field validation errors. And there's the one that looks at values that are out of range. And then there is a module that looks at outliers for numeric fields. And then there is a module that looks at hidden fields that contain values. And then there is another one that looks at multiple choices with invalid values, incorrect values for calculated fields, field containing missing data codes. So these are the ones that that come with REDCap, but you can also customize your own, where you give it a certain rule, a certain range, and asked REDCap to pull, let's say, a BMI. You would want to look at people who have numbers that seem like there could be outliers for BMI or that are impossible. So you can create like a category where you want to pull those records. Once you notice that, you can just using the built-in modules as examples, then whatever you select, you just click execute. And it basically gives you a report of how many records that have discrepancies, how many records have blank values. And again, here you can see it's about 6,575. And again, the reason we're seeing that because there is nothing in this database that I'm showing you. There are only like few records that were used just to test. And then if you decide that you want to pull out these records, you can click view or you can export them. So there's this two option where you can export or view. And once you also look at it and you realize that this record should be that there's nothing wrong with it, you can actually decide to exclude it from the future reports so it doesn't keep coming up. But yeah, so there's so once you view, you get a pop-up window that that shows you what record and what data is missing, and then you can decide to exclude it once you realize that there's nothing wrong with it, or once you note down that this issue has been resolved before. Yeah, so that's one thing on the data quality. And again, so without running out over time, so for REDCap can also be used for surveys. It can, and then again, what I showed you here is mainly for just capturing and creating a project. Like for example, MCP study is just going to be a longitudinal study. So when you are setting up a project, these instruments usually, once they are captured, they appear as if it's a once-off instrument. But if you want this instrument to be repeated, you can modify that using, you can enable that under enable option modules that allow repeating instruments. You can modify that so that will allow you to allow this instrument to be repeated multiple times. And then also there's a button where you can define these events. For example, there are some certain instruments that may be scheduled to be collected for this information to be captured at specific point in time. Then you can define your events. You can say maybe this instrument will be captured at 6 months. This instrument will be captured at, so then you can define. But some instruments may not require that schedule, but so you just have to allow a repeated instrument. And so, as I said, again, it can be used for surveys. And lastly, there's additional features like having API, and also there is other things we didn't touch on, capturing on a tablet. Sometimes people may not have internet all the time, and the only way you can capture on REDCap, because it's web-based, you can also use the app. app comes with certain challenges, because when you are offline, you can capture information. However, if someone else happens to be updating the red cap and they have a new version, when you try to synchronize all this information, when you get connection, or when you have these multiple records, it may not sync properly, and that also creates other issues. But again, that's another topic for another day. But yes, there is mobile apps for RedCap that allows you to capture offline. I think I've gone over. I've touched all the issues on RedCap. I'm sure people might have more questions, but if you need more explanation and detailed explanation, again, I'm available. You can reach me via email. But for now, if you have a quick question, I'll be able to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Athama. That was very, very useful, because you almost took us through all you can do with RedCap within such a short time, which is very useful. We have seen how to create projects using templates, exporting projects with metadata XML, using dashboard, using the codebook, online designer. I think most important, the part where you do the validation during data entry, and I think this is very important, because if the data quality starts from there. If you don't have the validations, like the date validation you talked about, the age range, etc., I think that's where the quality start deteriorating. You took us through branching logics and the data quality module itself, the use of repeat instruments, longitudinal data, export, etc. So these are quite useful, Athamon. We want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Members on this meeting, if you have any question to Athamon, I think it would be great to start that discussion right now. Just raise up your hand. We'll let you unmute and then ask the question. Okay, so while they are trying to organize their questions, you give one example. Example of a form, and in that form, there was this the screening form. And then we saw somewhere below the field in the designer view, it was saying the validation type is none. And I saw that for a couple of questions.
Okay, so the screening form, validation type.
Yeah, so I note that Mosa has raised his hand. He will be the first after Athamon answered this.
Yes, so Raphael, some of the questions where I answered none, it's mainly because I wanted to give people a room to be able to add their own validation check. For instance, the name of facility. I thought ideally, if we knew the names of facility, we could have added a drop down, and it will save people time. They can just select their facility name. But when this form was being designed, I had no idea of what facility names were going to be. So I decided to not restrict it, and so I removed the none. But I believe that the sites, because the sites know their own their name of facilities, I feel like this will be an opportunity to add for each site to add their under a drop down of their facility name, so that people don't keep on capturing how they want to capture a facility name, for example. The same with Sparkle site record number. I didn't want to restrict it, the form in terms of format. I didn't want to restrict by to have a specific format because this was going to be shared across countries. So I did not want to add like any specific validation. When you see where I added validation type none, it's mainly because it's usually a free text, and there the validation was not clear, like of what needed to be, what kind of validation I needed to put in place. That's why I put none. Yeah, but usually when you can anticipate what kind of issues you would want to add some kind of validation, and on all the fields actually.
Sure, sure. So thank you, Athaman, for emphasizing on that. So in the end, most of the fields should be validated, so you have quality data. And Musa had raised his hand and dropped it down. Musa, will you ask your question, please?
Yes, thank you, Prof. Sanjeda. Okay, thank you, Dr. Afternoon, for your presentation practice to using RedCap. Thank you very much. So I want to know, when you use the control of the queries control and the control of coherence, when you use the control of queries and the control of coherence in RedCap. So thank you very much.
Sorry, the control of queries. I'm not sure I understood that. So are you talking about on the data quality report?
Musa, can you give us a little bit highlight?
Yes, in data quality, yes, in data quality, the control of queries, the control of coherence, the queries and the control of coherence.
Okay, so so for in terms of data quality, so I can just go. Okay, have something to say to add on, or do you have a question also?
I just I'm getting the line for question. Thank you.
For the data quality report, it's best to customize your own report and create different small reports. Because what RedCap gives you sometimes missing, like it gives you something generic. But if you want to customize and then keep your data quality checks on specific fields, then you can create multiple forms. And once you fix, once you execute a report and you see what the queries are on the report, you can go and look through your files, through your forms where you captured information from, and then you can update that information. Once it's updated, you can make sure that you exclude it from the report. I think that is one thing you can do for the data quality, to just manage the number of the discrepancies that keep on popping up. I don't know if I answered your question.
And Athaman,
Yes.
is it possible, in addition to what you just said, that Musa want to know for like the query resolution module, which you can, perhaps I'm just thinking, because once you see that there's inconsistency, quality issues, what do you do with them? Let's say you are the data manager. So what do you want the data entry people to do? Would you want to mention a little bit, maybe, because that's also kind of
Okay.
control, and also the custom queries that you can make?
Yes. So one way is to actually anticipate when the project starting, what things you need to what's your data points, what are you collecting, and you put all these checks in place in terms of your data quality reports, so that you can constantly uh, review your data just by clicking on those reports, that those issues don't come up often. And if they do come up, you can put measures in place. Some of the measures in place is what validation rules do we add on this field, so that these issues they don't come up over and over again. Do we add the branching logic? Do we use the use of branching logic? Or do we add the validation checks on these fields? Are they actually working? So I feel like those are things that you can put in place to minimize these issues from reoccurring. But then I'm also happy to hear from what other people how other people are resolving these issues at their sites as well. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. I would like to hear someone talk on the query resolution, where you raise a query to the people and they respond to specific issues, and then you say this is resolved, etc., etc. But I will leave it to the discussion. Dr. Bruno, do you want to say something?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you so much. But also thank you very much, Athmon, for a very nice and lightful presentation. And I think this really should be the way forward. My question is just a simple one, that given that we have multiple sites where the data are being collected and being handled or managed at that level, which makes it the final submission to be almost at the end of the season, where the validation could be done and things like those. We normally get a chance from the beginning to ensure that all sites, they are not going to use the same well-developed system that can minimize the errors, so that we ensure that once we come to the end of mobilizing the data together, we have minimal errors because of well-validated form at the beginning. And maybe just a second question, what are the experiences from the sites, and what might be the challenges that normally they do encounter when it comes to the issue of handling their data, when they compare with what you've presented, all steps of from the creation of the data capturing system to the submission? Thank you.
Yes. So okay. Thank you very much for that question. And yes, so I think the purpose of this workshop is also one so that we can keep on having this discussion, and so that we can all try to minimize these data quality issues that keep on popping up. So I think, yes, again, I will be happy to hear from, we have people from different sites here, so I'll be happy to hear from them, or what the issue of data quality they always encounter. However, I can comment, and maybe Wilson or Martha, Mario, so they are online as well, so they can comment in terms of when the issues we've encountered when we are cleaning data. Some of the issues we encounter is sometimes missingness of data, where information is missing, but you're not really sure if that information is missing, maybe because that information is somewhere, but it's not captured, or that information is actually missing. So those are the issues we tend to encounter. And then other issues are mainly issues that can be resolved through having just validation in place, things like free text. Free text are a problem when you are trying to clean this data, because sometimes you find that certain records, some are in small letters, others in capital letters, others are misspelled, and these are issues that can be really avoided when you are doing when you are putting validation in place. This can be minimized. Another thing is the export. So sometimes we get data sets that are exported in different formats. But ideally, as I mentioned, we would want like a CSV. Like, if we are sharing data, we would want to share data that is uniform, data that is where a CSV, where we are all sharing the same CSV. Because sometimes you get people sharing data, but then it's column description, it's not like field name. So now you have to like keep going back and forth between the file, the data dictionary, the code book, trying to actually understand what it is. And then another thing would be another thing that can minimize these errors is as a data coordinating center, sharing one complete database with all the sites so that we all have the same database that we are all capturing. Even if we are coming from we are in different countries and different sites, we can all at least use the same field name, the same labels, everything is coded the same way. And that's one way we can actually also minimize some of the issues. But again, those are just like minor, sometimes the issues that maybe come through data sharing. But I would be happy to also, again, hear from people from the site what their actual issues are at the site level. Yeah, thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm Daniel from Sparko, Tanzania. Actually wanted to just contribute on what Atemon talked about, the data quality. As for my experience, from the question that raised by Musa, is just there is a built-in function called the data quality. That's where you can raise queries and resolve queries, and that comes from the data quality rules that you have set and built-in rules. So if you found any errors or any data quality issues from there, it's when you find a specific record, and then you can raise query to a specific user of the red cap so that he or she can resolve the issues. And there are some of the metrics that will show as number of days those queries have been resolved and everything that you needed for making collection of that data. And that queries can be sent to user through, maybe should be email, from email. You can send it to email. You can send through the messenger, and also you see the notification of that particular data that there is a certain queries raised and you need to resolve. Those are the kind of things that you can just go through full RedCap as a built-in function from the data quality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I wish this can also be presented one of these days, how this workflow, the query resolution works, how you probably as a data manager, how you raise that, how you check the number of days. Maybe We can schedule that as well. It will be very interesting. But yeah, so Tanzania has spoken. I want to hear from let's say just randomly from Ghana. They can have their experience based on the question that Bruno asked, or anybody else. I mean, any other idea for this discussion. Ghana? If not,
Yeah, hello.
hello.
Yeah, so this Evans Ghana. So I think from our side, especially for the newborn screening project, what we did was pick on the what was shared by SADC and then build ours around it. So just make the necessary tweaks to ensure that we are still using the same source code, but just the slight site modifications to it. So that once we share it back, the data is in almost the same format, if not the same format as what was shared with us. So that's our experience from Ghana. Thank you, and over.
Okay, thank you so much for the sharing the experience from Ghana. Maybe, so Evans, thank you. Maybe we can check from the Nigeria side if they have any input. Is there anyone from Nigeria? I've seen Ruben, I think.
Yes, I am here, Professor Sangada. Good afternoon from Nigeria. Actually, part of what I'm going to share is, I mean, since I'm going to speak in the next maybe like few minutes, I would have preferred to, highlight some of our own experiences and share some of our challenges during those comments, so I don't repeat myself, if that's okay. Hello, Prof.
Hello.
Did you get my question?
Just checking my timetable to see if we have any extra time. When are you? Yeah. Good. I think this is part of what we are doing right now. If you want, you can already start. So everyone said something, but you can add additional stuff. Ruben, if you want, you can do that now.
Okay, thank you very much. So, yeah. Good afternoon again to everybody. And I want to especially appreciate Professor Sangada, Mario, and in absence, late Professor Gaston for helping us set up our Red Cap. Before now, we've been doing researches on different platforms, but not on Red Cap. And then when the Sparkle started, we went through the installation of Red Cap in our institution, and at this present time, we have so many projects currently domiciled on our Red Cap instance. So I want to appreciate them for the support. And then I want to also appreciate our site leads, because Nigeria is quite unique. We have, I'll use this word now, data access group, 27 data access group showing 27 sites that we're currently recruiting patients from and receiving follow-up information. So, and they're scattered across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So I want to appreciate the site leads, especially the ones who have made out time to come here today, Professor Hassan and Professor Aisha. I see them, and the people from National Hospital. I want to also appreciate them. So I'll go quickly to sharing some of our experience. When we started, based on the fact that many of us don't have any experience using RedCap, we took the XML file directly from Sickle in Africa, SADC, and then installed it on our RedCap instance. And then, going along the project, we found out that so many things would have been done differently. We would have, designed some of the tools or redesigned some of the tools differently so that they can capture more what we actually do in the clinics. But because we don't have those experience at that time, we took the XML file directly from SADC, and then we installed it on our instance. You now have things like race, what race is the person, on our database, things that are quite redundant and not necessarily asked during the clinic. So those sometimes account for the missingness that we have in our database. And then when we started, we could not, or not that we did not have, we were not able to, use the mobile function or use the mobile instance. And then you find out that during the clinics, most people don't have the time to log in online and start entering this information. So we had to use paper. And then across our sites, those sites, what we had to do to make sure that we get this data in was develop an Excel template that we now upload into RedCap. So when Atemon was talking, thank you, Dr. Atemon, for that presentation, great presentation. He mentioned exporting data. We also have an import function on that RedCap where you get the Excel file that maybe the research assistants must have entered across the sites, and then you upload them in RedCap. So instead of entering them real time or maybe logging in and all, or even offline, you use the Excel function. There are a lot of challenges with that. I mean, it's a lot of problems with it, but I mean, it takes a lot of patience and carefulness. I mean, to make sure that you enter those data. But when we started, actually, that was what we had. And then we were quite ambitious, The site leads came to Abuja from all the hospitals across the country. And then we sat down to look at the data elements that SADC has shared. These are the core data elements. What do we want to collect? And then some of the site leads said, okay, we have this information in our sites. We can collect this information. We can collect that information. Yes, patients are asked, food blood count, for instance, are collected across sites. Yes, this is part of the criteria to see the patients. And then we went into the field. But getting into the field, we found out that there's some information that yes, they do them, but you can't get them because patients pay for this information. For instance, the food blood counts. If the patient doesn't pay, and then he pays just for consultation, you will see the patient, you can't, send the patient back. And those information at that clinical visit becomes absent. So some of those informations, because we were quite ambitious, we wanted to get as much information as we wanted. Our database, grew very, very large. And then those informations, if patients don't pay or they're not available at that time, or there are no expatriates to take them, we are not able to record them, and they are reported sometimes as missing. And then we did not really, just like Atemon mentioned during his presentation, use the function to restrict what you enter or not enter. That is the word that just skipped my head anyway. But it's just to make sure that you take a particular information, and if it's not available, it keeps on reminding you to fill it up. Those functions were not strict enough to to impute them at the beginning of the project. So you now find that some people, if they don't get those information, they can just keep them and go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of the challenges that we have experienced, using RedCap, which is a very wonderful, amazing software, in efficient data capturing and ensuring that data quality and insights, data quality is well, improved in our sites. Some of the challenges we've encountered is, for instance, transfer of staff, and then the busy schedule of the clinics. So sometime we will do the training, like in our sites. Last year alone, we've done RedCap training more than 4 times. In fact, we did 2 in a quarter, just to see, because we started the training, and then in some hospitals, before we know it, the research assistant had gone, and the PIs are quite busy not to be able to, do all those things we want them to do. So once these staffs are either transferred or get another job, you have to retrain. And during those periods, clinics, of course, are going on, patients are coming in and going, and informations are always like that. Unless we have a dedicated staff paid across all sites, that is when we are now sure that we can get this information real time and available. So for our site here in University of Abuja Teaching Hospital in Abuja, where SESTA is domiciled, we have a dedicated data manager, Professor Wolabi. I'm assisting him. We have 2 research nurses. We have research assistants that help during the clinics to get this information. So we are sure that during those clinics that this data are entered real time. Nurse Yabosa is here, Ms. Doyin is here. They are all part of those taking this data real time in our site. But in other sites, Yeah, I can hear you. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, you'd like, please summarize. So you have given some of the challenges and solutions, and if you can quickly
All right,
summarize
I
so
get it.
others can also contribute. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, all right, maybe I would just maybe leave it at this. I was, from what I got from the timetable, I thought I could share as much as I would. So, but I'll just stop here for others to go ahead and share. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So if we have time, Ruben will come back. Just want to be sure that everyone else has gotten time as we are approaching towards the end of the session. Has gotten time to also share their challenges. So I realize that Evans said something, but I hope if he has any additional thing, and then we go to Daniel as well. In terms of challenges and how they've come across. I know he has already shared, for example, how they had the XML and how they developed it further. But are there any other challenges, like Ruben talked about the transfer of staff and how many trainings they have had to do and how they have other full-time people like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just say I actually had a presentation, but I'll just skim through. So as Ruben said, I think we had similar challenges, just that slightly different. So we started from a clinic which was fully paper-based, just a blank sheet where doctors just see patients and just write what they want to. Then we moved to a little bit structured form, which was still paper-based. But based on what we needed to do for Sparkle, we had to now modify the hospital's paper-based form into something that the doctors would easily work on for us, and we could also extract all the required information that we want. But just when we had done that, then the hospital now switched to an electronic medical record. That almost virtually meant that we now had to start meeting the electronic medical records team to get our forms still incorporated, which we quite did it successfully. But some of the fields were still missing. They couldn't incorporate some of the fields. And as Atimon was saying, since some of them we are extracting from records already collected on patients, we had a certain number of missingness, in our data sets. But to curb that, I think what we are doing now is, as part of our monthly meetings, the manager presents a level of missingness for certain fields. So because it's quite a passive data collection now, when the patient is seen, we pick information from there. We present missingness. If there's a specific variable which is being missed a lot, then the team can now attend to that, maybe draw people's attention that this also needs to be completed whenever a patient is being seen. And I think we also use the data quality rules. It helps in just making sure that even before the person ends, some of these things are corrected. And we do that just to be able to find out the level of missingness, raise it with our team meetings and also with our research assistants. Then we can get some of those things cleared out and not leave out a lot of mistakes that would hamper data analysis. So briefly, I think that'll be that from Ghana. Thank you, and over.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry if I was, maybe I should check from Martha. I see Daniel projecting, but Martha, is there really time for to have the presentations, or we discuss with the approach that we have just followed?
I believe on our side, I think there is some time. So if you have time, we can continue with projections, perhaps slides, and then people can discuss.
Because I noted that everyone, I think Evans and Ruben wanted, and I see Daniel already projecting.
I think it's your prerogative. If we have time, I think it's possible.
I know I have problem with we are different time zones, and
Okay.
let me check. According to my clock, we should be finishing in 6 minutes. Is that correct for everyone?
If we can get insights from Daniel, I think it either way, whether he presents the slides or not.
All right.
It's
All
up to
right,
him.
Daniel,
Yeah.
you can use. Thank you, Matt. Daniel, whichever approach you use, make sure it's brief.
Okay.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. I'll just go through. Actually, as an introduction, actually, this is actually the data collection site. As you know, we started in 2017. Actually, as we go on, the sites have been increasing. So we have the task to make sure that the data are in good quality as the sites continuing to expand. So actually, what kind of the data quality issue that we have faced? At first, as other sites said, for example, Tanzania, we have started with paper-based. Actually, from that paper-based, we were making sure that the data that are being collected not contain the double entry. So actually what we have done is just to use the barcode as one of the innovative tool to make sure that we have the data that we are collecting not repeating to each other. So we have also the problem of outdated contact information. So we have designed also the log sheet that actually collecting the live information from the clinic. So this is to avoid to go and update into RedCap the data that have been changed. Actually, as the sites continue to increase, we have also to redesigned our RedCap to make sure that each site has its own data access group, so that when we want to track the data quality should be an issue, and to make sure that those who are responsible for data entry are responsible also to resolve the issues that are concerned. Also, we have the issue of mismatched names and patient migrations. You know, there are patients who are migrated from one clinic to another, so we also deal with that to make sure that those patients are not affecting the quality of data. So also we have the issue of unreliable internet. Also, this is when we have applied the offline data collection, where the mobile platform was used actually to make sure that the data later on are being synced to RedCap. Also, we have used it like other sites said, the data quality rules. We have applied them and to make sure that the data are consistent throughout. So we've also don't have the automated tools. So we have applied also the external modules. Also, RedCap allows for the external modules to make sure that you check for the quality of data. Also, we have applied also the data. We have the WhatsApp group for data quality issues. If there is any challenge, whatever, so the data clerks will be able to share some of the challenges that they got from the clinics and being resolved. So with limited technical resources, we have created a number of SOPs and adapting the other SOPs from SADC. This actually shows how those how people fill names, dates, and address and other field that we are sure that these should be understood by the data clerks. We use drop downs and restricted input fields, like, for example, hospital name. So we avoid people type in. So we are sure that if you're using the drop down, it will help also to reduce the data quality issues. Also built in the data validation, as Atimon talked about. So we have also automated some of the check, like simple checks, like alerts when the field is missing, standardized formatting, like the number of characters that the format with the phone number need to have. So the incomplete record and other things. Also we as Tanzania, we just focus on the essential field rather than taking everything. I know SADC shared a lot of, shared the standardized data elements. So we have picked the data element that we think could be collected to our sites easily. And also we have conducted a number of refresher training to make sure that they understand the why behind the clean data. So as I've said, we have the data quality is ongoing process in REDCap. Actually, you have to make sure that these precise questionnaire design during the designing of data engineering, make sure that you have a cross-checking and verification of the data, and also make sure that these validation and cleaning of those data from the entry and to the extraction of data through different packages for analysis and other things. So the lesson learned, we have, what we learned is just make sure that you pilot your data elements before using it or going live. You have to consult the domain expert, like maybe clinicians, if you don't understand the data elements and how it is being collected, and also use the built-in features like calculated fields. For example, if you want to calculate the BMI or you want to check for some of the age of a patient, whatever, because you have the birth date, then you can calculate some. So you reduce the manual work that the data clerk can use to collect the data. So other thing is to train the users on the effective to ensure that they understand data elements and they provide feedback on that data element if it is possible to collect or not. And also to have the data management strategy, like building the reports that will help you you to understand if there is a missing data of that number. So if the data clerk fill in, so you see the number decreased as from the report that from data quality report that you have developed in REDCap. Thank you. That is a short experience from Tanzania.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for just confirming most of the things we have discussed earlier. And yeah, so the way to finalize this discussion is to check if any of our colleagues from other sites have questions to any of the colleagues who have just said something. Ruben and Evans, if you have a specific slide you want to project, if people ask questions, you can do that. If they don't have questions and you have something to emphasize, you can also do that. So let's check for questions from different sides. If you have any questions from the experience just shared by colleagues. The experience from Ghana, Nigeria, Tanzania. Seems people understood it very well. Evans, Ruben, is there something you want to add before I hand over back?
Yeah, so I'll just say this briefly. So experience from our side, I think in as much as we'd want to get healthcare workers to use these electronic platforms, I think we must also be careful as to not so much interrupt their normal workflow, because from our experience, if you interrupt it too much, you get more messiness. But if you can just get them to do what they normally do and increasingly add certain things, they are more likely to get into the flow than have something which is quite huge dumped on them and they have to change how they virtually do everything. Thank you, and over.
So thank you very much, Evans, for that. I'll give 1 minute if there's no hand, then I'll hand over to Martha to finalize the session.
Hello, Prof. Sangeda.
Hello, Michael.
Yes, I'm speaking with Michael from Tanzania. I want to share experience from Tanzania. As Daniel represented, we are using register number is a unique number, but when we try to analyze, we found there's some duplicate register number from different sites. So thanks to Daniel, what we resolve the issue, we try to configure our register number is a unique. So now different sites cannot use the same register number, but before we are struggling. But thanks to Daniel, configure now our register number now as a unique field. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing that as well. I think uniqueness for key fields like record ID is very important. But you also need, for example, the registry numbers to be unique also to correspond to one particular person. So that's very key. I think I just forgot in the past with the late Dr. Gaston, we had been talking about natural language processing, and I think with now the evolution of AI and machine learning, I think I've spoken about this before, but I think we need to continue that because this is in the middle of pulling data from different sites and wanting to pull them together. You might need some of the natural language processing tools to look at the look at the data, to look at the codes, and be able to figure out if there are any mismatch between the codes. I mean, this is something someone could do as a master's, as a PhD. I know there is quite a number of things that can be done, all to improve the quality of data. So I think people can think about this as well. It's something, and there was a paper that Gaston was leading. I think it had quite some insights into how this can be done. So once it's published, I think we can also have a look at that. But other than that, I want to thank members. The turnout was very big. Thank you for coming. And thank you for all who shared their insights. Mario, Athamon, Daniel, Evans, and Ruben, and Vicky and Martha. So we thank you, Wilson and others who are also behind the scenes. Thank you very much. And I return now back to Martha. Back to you, Martha. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Sangeda, for hosting this session or for chairing this session. Just standing in for Vicky, but just to reiterate, I want to summarize some of the key points that we talked about.
I cannot hear you, Martha. Are you still on? Does everyone hear? Okay, I lost you for a while. I don't know if it was only me.
I'm not. Can everyone hear me?
I think I also lost you. You said you were going to summarize and then we lost you.
Yeah. Oh, I think my internet connection is quite unstable where I am, so I will repeat. So in summary, I think we had a very insightful session today, touching on REDCap and how to set up REDCap instruments and how to make sure that they're validated. And from my side, as a new user to REDCap, I will definitely be going over this video just to ensure that I understand how REDCap works. Also, thank you to the panelists for giving us your insights from the various sites. We will certainly keep in touch with the different sites just to work on this missingness and data quality issues. So I would like to thank the panelists for their contributions. So for tomorrow, the next step. So for tomorrow, we'll be having a training session. And I believe Mario shared a link that I hope we can all go onto and register for various resources there, because tomorrow we'll be looking at data transfer using Nextcloud. And we'll also look at how to start identifying, spotting data quality issues using the R programming language. So if you're interested in that in R, please do attend. And yeah, and tomorrow we'll also have another panel discussion to hear from the remaining sites. So yeah, so thank you very much for your attendance, and we hope to see you tomorrow as well.
Thank you, Martha, for that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
So bye bye.
Okay, bye.